Street Fighter EX2 Plus.
Hello and welcome to another Boroshin's Retrospectives. Today covering Street Fighter EX2 Plus for the PlayStation 1, actually made by a company called Arika, or Arika, whatever you want to call it, published obviously by Capcom. And it basically is the reason why these games were created was because the PlayStation 1 wasn't very good at handling sprites. So Capcom thought, well, we should probably make some sort of 3D Street Fighter game, but not actually have it be totally 3D. So it's 3D, but you're still playing on a 2D playing field. So it's basically what we're dealing with like Street Fighter 4, Street Fighter 5. Same idea, basically. Almost different. There's a bit of weirdness, but apart from that, it's pretty cool. And it's actually probably one of my favourite fighting games of all time. I played this so much when I was a kid. I spent many hours playing this game, and I'll go into detail on why I love this game so much. But anyway, let's just get into it. So this game had an arcade release, as did all the EX games apart from EX3, which we don't want to talk about because EX3 is not very good. But yeah, so there was an EX2 for the arcade, and then EX2 Plus came out on the consoles and had some added characters and remixed music and stuff like that. So the EX games have some of the classic Street Fighter characters, and then Arika themselves made new characters that they designed, such as the character I'm using now, Darren Meister, who, to be honest, I do believe is who they actually wanted for Super Street Fighter 4 instead of having Hakan, because they asked Arika if they could use some of their characters. And not gonna lie, Darren Meister is very much like Hakan in a lot of ways in terms of general style. But yeah, they designed these added characters, and some of these characters I absolutely love. I adore these characters. They're really, really good, and they fit in really well with the standard Street Fighter cast. And yeah, they're just really cool. Darren Meister's a nice grappler type character. It feels quite different from, say, Zangief, who's also in the game. But yeah, so they made these characters while also doing a very good job of recreating the classic Street Fighter characters like Ryu, who you'll see here. Now the game works in standard Street Fighter format, 6 buttons, nothing crazy there, but it has some interesting mechanics. So you have, as you can see beneath the life bars, you actually have your like energy bar, super meter, whatever you want to call it, and it's 3 stocks. So you can have up to 3 bars, but there's so many different things you can spend it on. So there's supers, like I'm doing there. There is level 3 supers as well, so I'll hit one later on in this match to finish Ryu off, I think, in the second round. But yeah, you have supers, and then you have other things. There's a couple of other things you can spend your meter on. You can spend your meter on XL, which I did in the earlier match against Pull and Perna fairly badly. But it's basically like alpha custom combos, but bounced. So you activate it, and it only lasts a certain amount of time. And it scales things kind of reasonably, but you can still be really creative with it. It's really, really fun to use. I can't remember any of the XL custom combos I came up with as a kid. I spent ages coming up with all sorts of stuff. So you can cancel normals into normal, specials into whatever. You can sort of just cancel stuff into as long as you're hitting it or it's blocked. But yeah, that's one of the things you can use. And then the other thing is you can perform an armor breaker, which is basically a level 3 focus attack. So it causes a custom meter, and your character will do like this big strike, and it has like a lightning effect. Ryu did one earlier. And it breaks, if you get hit, it breaks your armor and puts you in like a stun state. There's the armor breaker. So yeah, to be honest, this is another thing that I noticed when they were coming out with Street Fighter 4. Was they actually borrowed quite a few mechanics from this game. It has a lot of Street Fighter 4 elements, this game. It's not the same by any means, but there's certainly an influence. I can tell that Ono or whoever, someone on the design team, must have had some fondness for this game. And interesting, Arika are basically comprised of old Street Fighter 2 developers. That is basically who these people were. They were ex-Capcom employees. So that's the reason why it's quite well. Now this is Darren's level 3, and his is really cool. Basically, if you've ever played Tekken, you'll know that King has these command grabs that go into one another, and it's basically a 50-50 every time. And basically that's the same thing in this. So it's called Gamble of Darun, and you, after each grab within it, which is all a 360 with a punch or a kick, you do another one. And if they guess if the opponent presses punch or kick and they get you, so say you did the 360 kick grab and they pressed kick, their the super ends. You don't get another grab. But if you keep getting it incorrect, he just keeps doing damage, and it can actually do 100%. It's really cool though, I love it. And also I love the effects when you get a KO with like supers in this game. You have like meteors hitting, because level 3s are called meteor supers, and then like you get different depending upon what kind of super it was, whether it be a level 3 or level 1 into a level 2 sort of thing. You get a different sort of dramatic effect to it, and it's really, really cool. That's another thing I should mention, which you'll be seeing more with. I decided to play one EX character, in the case of Darren Meister, and then I decided I'd play a classic character, so I played Sagat. All of the Street Fighter characters were really fun. They gave them some new moves and stuff, which is kind of cool. Some of the characters have some new moves, which also ended up getting added into Street Fighter later. So, for instance, a great example of that is Bison's back throw. If you remember from Street Fighter 4, his back throw is where he like sort of sweeps your leg, then hits you with his leg into your like stomach, and then chucks you away. Right? That's from this game. This is where that originated from. It's in this game first. So there's various things that they sort of kept. Anyway, what I was saying, before I got sort of sidetracked by rambling, is you can cancel supers into supers in this game, and it's really, really cool. So I do believe in the next round, I can cancel into 3 different supers. So I do a super, into another super, into another super, and it's very, very satisfying. And it's really, really fun. It's inherently fun. And it's still balanced because they scale the supers, so it's not like super crazy, although damage is very high in this game. You may have noticed. Here we go. I think this is where I do the 3 supers, yeah? Into another super, into another super. And it did reasonable damage, it did about half health, but it's very, very fun. There's some really hard stuff where you do like super into an XL, cancel, into like another super, and you can get some really good damage. It's genuinely quite open, and you can sort of mess around with it. And I always enjoyed labbing stuff in this game, even though I didn't really have anyone to play against. I just enjoyed playing the game on its own. So yeah, what do I really like about this game? There's just so many things. I love how the characters look. Even though this is a PS1 game, I think it stands up. Sure, it's polygonal, and like the backgrounds are a bit weird, but it's so fun when you're actually playing it that it doesn't really bother you. It's like some of the older Capcom games, especially some of the older stuff on like anything SNK made or Capcom made. Sometimes they can feel a bit janky because the actual game has started to age a bit. But this holds up really well. The controls are just really spot on. Another thing I think is just fantastic is, man, this soundtrack. Arika just knocked it out the park. Knocked out of the park. Some of the tracks in such as like White Field, Phantom Bomb, the train, Flash Train, and then some of the themes for the actual some of like the characters, the boss characters, actually have their own themes because the stages are random. You may have noticed, because otherwise it would make no sense, like reuse stage being inside some sort of like industrial freezer. But yeah, so the stages just have just randomized apart from the boss characters. Boss characters have their own stages. But yeah, the soundtrack is so good. It's one of the best soundtracks in Street Fighter history, in my opinion. Which is funny because it's not made by Capcom, but it is just really, really good. Other things I think this game does well is, I don't know, there's a general feel to it. Obviously, like I said, the controls are just super solid. But I don't know, it is inherently a fun game. Also, for the time, it contains content that you wouldn't have got in a fighting game of that type, right? So this is going to sound mental, me saying this now, but considering Street Fighter 5 didn't launch with this, it's kind of funny. Street Fighter EX2 has trials, and a lot of them. I believe there's 10 for each character, and they are proper trials, like actual, like showing you pretty decent combos for each character, and that for at the time was a bit mental. And then another thing, it has all sorts of stuff that you're like, well, what? Why? That's interesting. Why is that there? It has some fun bonus games, as you saw the one where you have to beat up the dummy, but you can only use XL. It has some very interesting features. Another one, which is unknown at the time, was like, wow, what's this? And it got added in things like Tekken 2 as well, is there's a command list within the game. You press start, and you go command list, and it shows you all of your special moves. And at the time, that was a rarity. Usually you would have had to use the instruction booklet. Such thing. Also, this bonus game is like the best bonus game ever, because it makes no fucking sense. Why am I fighting a satellite? But you know, just fight a satellite, just beat up a satellite, it just makes sense. I don't really care. And you have like asteroids falling and hitting you on my head. But yeah, it's really good. It's just fun. After this, you get to fight Garuda, who is probably my favourite boss character, actually. I mean, obviously I like Akuma, I like Bison, but man, Garuda, when I was young, at least this, to be honest, you have to say at some point, maybe it's just nostalgia, but I still think this character is as cool. I just love this character, this weird demon who has like spikes shooting out of him as an attacks, and he's actually scared. Akuma's actually scared of this character, and like saying that he's actually super fucking powerful, and he shouldn't be messed with, and he's just a really cool character. He's just super cool, has a fantastic theme. It's just super good. So after EX2 Plus, they did make EX3, but EX3 reused a lot of stuff. It reused EX Plus's music, not EX2 Plus, EX Plus Alpha, which was the previous game to this one, which actually features some characters which aren't in this one. There's some characters both on the sort of Arika side that didn't come back, like Alan Snyder, and also some of the characters on the Street Fighter side. For instance, Sakura is in EX Plus Alpha, but she's not here. But yeah, so you had some characters sort of cut and not returned, but some of those, like for instance, Sakura returns in EX3. Alan Snyder doesn't, unfortunately, because Alan Snyder is really cool. But yeah, so but EX3 has the tag mechanic, and it doesn't really work. And it was very rushed. It was a PlayStation 2 launch title, and it just wasn't very good. But yeah, overall, this game, I just love it. It is one of my favourite fighting games of all time. I'm thinking of actually doing my top 5 favourite fighting games of all time, and I'll just go into detail on why. But yeah, this game's just like it. It's hard to put it into words, but there's something about it. Nostalgia obviously plays a part, but man, it's just good. It's just nice. It's a good fighting game. Whether or not, in terms of competitiveness, probably not a great game. Apparently, it's not too bad balance, because for a while, I think in like 2014. Next Level Battle Circuit were running it in their sort of, and I think they occasionally still do, when they play like classic games like Alpha 2, things like that. This gets played quite a lot because people like it, because it's just really fun to sort of mess around in. But I don't know who's top tier in the game, but I wouldn't be surprised if some of the, I wouldn't be surprised if Doctrine Dark was good. I'm probably completely wrong there, but Doctrine Dark was always seemed quite good. There's a lot of characters that, I'm guessing the boss characters are banned, because you can unlock boss characters. Also, I didn't even mention half of like the EX characters that are great in this game, apart from just Darren Meister, but Pull and Pern is really fun, really great female character. Volcano Rosso's pretty much got some of the things that Laura got, like the slow fireball that's like a small wave, the sort of command bashy style. He's also got like a wrecker. You got Skullomania, who's like one of the stupidest but also genius designs of a fighting game ever. A salary man who turns to fighting crime. All sorts of fantastic characters that they came up with. But anyway, thanks for watching. If you have a PS1 emulator, which doesn't take too long to boot this up and have a go, it's really fun. And I'll see you next time for another Boroshin's Retrospectives. See you later.